Welcome to another episode of Monster Monday from the Ready to Die channel. This series explores the design of a creature I have built for Pathfinder 2nd Edition. The stat block for this creature can be found over on the Monster Monday blog, as well as the Twitter and Discord, all of which are linked below. Making mythical monsters is always a bit of a gamble, since it is a well that the good folks over at Paizo regularly draw from. For example, a while back I built a creature from Chinese mythology, the Ao Yin. Well, as I've seen from some of the recent solicitations of upcoming books, that creature is appearing in one of the Tianjia tomes for Pathfinder 2nd Edition. In an effort to avoid further overlap like this, I went for a slightly more obscure monster this time around, the Ragnarok rooster, the Gullinkambi. This fearsome fowl is featured in the fantastic work of Seth Monster. This bombastic bird bears Norse origins, where it is said to be one of the roosters that crows signaling Ragnarok. I've adapted it to Pathfinder 2nd Edition as a bestial sort of Aesir, akin to the Einherjar and Valkyrie, and settled on a level between the two of them. An Einherji is a level 10 creature, while a Valkyrie is level 12, so this fearsome fowl falls fully into level 11. Much like any Grecian monster featured in an RPG, from the Chimera to the Medusa herself, I have changed it from a singular creature to a multitude. As the Valkyrie are fully native to the realm, I intended the same to be the case for the Gullinkambi, though it's more animalistic than its fellow Aesir. I maintained the ties to the apocalypse for this creature, based on the lore already found within the Einherji and Valkyrie, though to discuss that, we need to get into the details. The Gullinkambi's ability scores are slightly inspired by chickens, though it uses a nearly high strength based on its size, and might as one of the Aesir, and it has a constitution to match for similar reasons. Chickens can also be hardy creatures, at least the ones that I've personally encountered. On the other hand, their dexterity is between low and moderate, as they are decidedly ungraceful flyers. The Gullinkambi also uses a moderate charisma based on its ties to the world of the Aesir and some of the innate magic they wield, even if it doesn't manifest into actual spells. Now, while chickens have keen eyesight, like many birds, they can be somewhat oblivious, lending to a terrible perception bonus for our apocalyptic avian. Based on its greater strength, it uses a high bonus to its athletics, whereas its acrobatics is only a low value, since this skill is used to maneuver in flight, which I already said the Gullinkambi is not exactly adept at. This rockadoodle rooster relies on rather standard defenses, starting with only a moderate armor class. This is partially based on its lower dexterity, and on the other hand it does allow me to use its higher constitution to give it a high pool of hit points, making it a fairly sturdy creature, though one that the player shouldn't have too much trouble landing blows on. Following the design of these ability scores, it is equipped with a high fortitude save, a moderate reflex, and a terrible will save, which totally isn't a remark about the chicken being susceptible to fear effects. In designing the attacks for the Gullinkambi, I was actually inspired by Seth Monster's work, specifically including a spur attack rather than labeling it as a talon. Matching the warrior ways of its fellow Aesir, it uses a high attack bonus for both of its strikes, which come with some traits that I don't usually utilize. Its beak already deals high damage, but if it can land multiple strikes with its beak in a round, its forceful trait will enhance this damage. It would need to hit 4 times to get its damage near an extreme value with this, but it still adds a nice bit of punch to the Gullinkambi. Now, being armed with the agile trait, its spurs deal low damage, which is also actually partially influenced by the fatal trait I wanted to include for it. On a crit, these are hitting for a damage that would be near moderate before doubling it. I think this makes the attacks equally valuable, depending on how you want to use them, which is always something I strive to do. The Gullinkambi can bring these attacks to bear with its Feathered Fury, an ability based off of Flurry of Blows. It uses a single action to make 2 strikes, both of the same type. This lets the Gullinkambi string attacks together, potentially getting some use out of its Forceful trait, or taking advantage of its Spur's Agile traits. It being a single action does mean that it can work in concert with the Gullinkambi's next ability, its Cataclysmic Cry. This is a fairly standard area damage effect, though I have it dealing slightly below limited use area damage with a high DC. The concept behind this ability is the Gullinkambi's Cry bringing a bit of that apocalypse early, which causes the earth to shatter and tear asunder, leaving it as difficult terrain. Now, the Gullinkambi has to be a little careful about doing this because it can slow down the creature itself. While the Gullinkambi can fly over this terrain, that is only slightly faster than walking through it because it's still a less than capable flyer. Alternatively, the Gullinkambi can use Wake the Dead, an ability inspired on both the waking cry that roosters are famous for, as well as the Einar Jarl taking part in the final battle during the Twilight of the Gods. This crow summons the spirits of warriors, possibly echoes of these Einar Jarl, or those on their way to becoming such, in an area around the Gullinkambi. These spirits remain and force an extreme reflex save from creatures caught in the area, capturing them if they fail their save. If the Gullinkambi can line up its cataclysmic cry and this ability, it can make it much harder for creatures to escape from the area. But more importantly, a creature that can escape the grasp of these spirits start being dragged to the afterlife, requiring a high DC will save and dealing unlimited use area damage, because while the ability itself does have a cooldown, the damage in area can be sustained for up to 1 minute. It also inflicts Doomed 1, representing that soul being dragged into the afterlife, though unlike the last creature I built, it doesn't go higher than that. The 2-action nature of its cataclysmic cry and the sustain of this ability is actually what inspired me to add the Feathered Fury ability to the Gullinkambi's arsenal. This allows it to get into attacks while still doing other stuff. There's 2 abilities to round out the Gullinkambi's kit. Inspired by stories and personal experience of chickens running around with their head cut off, I gave the Gullinkambi the Ferocity feature. This is a standard monster ability that is my attempt at mimicking this concept, though one that might not work as well for the Gullinkambi given that it only has a moderate armor class. Based on this is Vigorous Defiance, causing the Gullinkambi to lash out ferociously against its attackers, and make it quickened. I did consider playing deeper with the whole idea of the head being cut off. Something like the Gullinkambi is blinded, confused, but quicken as it desperately lashes out, but I think that design would need further buffs to the Gullinkambi, and I felt like it had a good chance of extending the fight, while the Gullinkambi couldn't actually manage to accomplish anything. Instead I settled for this, and I think I'm pretty happy with it. That covers the Gullinkambi. This Ragnarok doodlin' rooster rules the roost with raucous roars and rowdy rounds and a riotous ruckus. The level of the Gullinkambi means that it can be used easily alongside either of the other Aesir, though it's just as capable of causing some chaos on its own. It was a lot of fun working on a mythological creature, of getting a chance to put my own sort of spin on it, so if you have some more suggestions for a creature of that nature, fire away. Hopefully Paizo won't beat me to them. But let me know what you think of this creature, and if you have any more general suggestions, you can always let me know in a comment down below. If you want to see other monsters I've done, or even the stat blocks on other versions of this monster, check out the Monster Monday blog or Twitter, linked below as well. Thanks for watching, and have a monstrous Monday.